Hi, it's John from North Star Nursery, Garden and Home, your coastal gardener. Um, I've done a video like this before, and it's always an odd title. It's Forcing Bulbs Inside. I always get this vision of forcing them inside the house with a broom or something. This is about getting those kind of great winter blooming bulbs going for the season ahead. We have a lot of them in right now. For those of you that love paper whites, we have our paper white bulbs that we have gotten in. We have quite a few. Last year we got 900 and sold out. This year we got 900 still, and we're moving towards selling out relatively quickly. So if you want narcissus for gifts for Christmas, now is the time to purchase them. Also, if you want narcissus for your home, to force some inside for your actual own enjoyment, also consider buying a backup group of them. So what I usually suggest is if you're doing a vase like this, where you've got 4 of them in there, go ahead and get another 4. So get a total of 8 or 12 if you want to, and set the others in the refrigerator in the produce drawer, preferably not in plastic, like in a paper bag so that they don't rot. And then once that first batch is done, you can take those out, shake off the rocks, and put them in the garden. So that's the Narcissus paper whites. One of the things that I wanted to point out, and we've printed these little cheat sheets for you, and what this has on it is this kind of secret recipe for getting the paper whites to not get leggy and flop and just be kind of difficult. And basically what that is that after the leaves, so you first fill the vase with water, and you can kind of see there's some water in there. When you put the water in there, you just want the bulbs to be, or the water to be kissing the bottom of the bulb. You don't want it to be sitting in that water because that will cause a rot issue. So make sure you stay away from overly saturating. Also, if you need to pull water out, I know that's difficult because there's rocks and stuff. Turkey baster is your best friend. So the other thing is, once that foliage gets like 2 to 3 inches tall, what you want to do is start replacing the water with a mixture of 10 parts water, 1 part clear alcohol. Whether that be vodka is usually what I suggest. Also, if you don't have drinking alcohol in your home, because I did have somebody bring that up the other day, I did some research, and isopropyl alcohol will also work. And so that's 10 parts water, 1 part alcohol. And you continue to water with that until they are done blooming. And what that does, sorry guys, is that stunts the foliage from getting too big and too crazy. The other thing you can do is if you keep them in a cooler location in your home, that will also keep the foliage from getting too out of hand. So that is the little trick. And we have these little takeaway cheat sheets. Thank you, David. For you to take, and they're with the narcissus bulbs over there. Now, you can also pot them up into soil. There's nothing saying you can't do that. But what you want to consider is the fact that the narcissus, from time of either starting with water or planting, are going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to bloom. So if you're wanting something for Christmas, you want to start planting now. The one thing I wanted to also show, and I'm not sure if David can get a shot of this, I laid out the rocks that we currently have. This is the decorative rock that's a small scale, and this is a decorative rock that's a medium scale. These two work best for doing bulbs in a vase because you need something for those roots to grab onto. If you use larger rocks, sometimes the bulbs don't sit right and they flop around a lot because there's not as much material for them to kind of anchor into. The other thing you want to consider is you don't have to use rocks. You can use, I've seen some really creative stuff online. There was one person that took those little green army men that you used to get as toys, and they used to put those, they would put those in the vase, and literally you could use Legos, you could use anything that will stay in water, that will anchor the bulb. But it's really up to your own creativity, and so it's kind of fun. You can also get colored marbles. We don't have any of those this year, but we do have lots of rock for you. Also, I wanted to point out, container-wise, we got these really neat, they're a glass pot with a hole drilled in them. And so you could plant anything in here, but I thought it would be really neat to either plant an amaryllis in here, and then you could, pretty much watch the roots grow. Also, we have an abundance of vases. This is an amaryllis vase, and it pretty much does this. So you fill the water to just about, is there a glare? Yeah. You fill the water about 2/3 of the way. You don't want amaryllis sitting in a lot of water. They will not bloom for you if they are overly wet. So that's a really important component. I've had a lot of people come in and say, my amaryllis didn't bloom, and they come in with it and it's sitting in water. That is the kiss of death for an amaryllis. Amaryllis by nature are South African, so they're used to high and dry temps, and that's why they bloom so well kind of on their own. I don't know if you've ever gone to a nursery later in the season and seen an amaryllis bulb that's actually spiking, that's just sitting there by itself. With that mentioned, I want to point out the fact that this year, because you guys were asking for them, we got these waxed amaryllis. This is a variety called Red Lion. I'm pretty sure all of them are red, and they come in white and green wax or red wax. And basically, it has a little metal stand that they've kind of poked into it. And you pretty much just put this on your windowsill or on your table, and it blooms on its own. It's kind of amazing. The only problem is, once you do that, this has used a lot of energy. If you want to try to get it to bloom again, you could, but it's going to take a lot of work. So I kind of treat it almost like a cut flower arrangement. If you did want to revamp it for years ahead, what you could do is peel off all of the wax, go ahead and plant it into some soil, and start fertilizing it immediately, and fertilize it consistently while it's growing. What it's going to do is have all these leaves, and those leaves will probably start to die down in maybe May or so. And then you would pull back on your watering, fertilizing, and let it go dormant. Put it in the garage in a cool, dry place and stop watering it. Then you could try again to get it to bloom in the fall. Or sorry, not in the fall, at Christmas time next year. So that's the little fun, waxy ones. The other thing I wanted to show you is that we got a lot of these really cool containers that are that have a terracotta sleeve, and you just set the bulb in there. What I would suggest doing when you go to do it is to kind of feather out the roots, eliminate any of what's kind of dead and whatnot, and then just kind of get that and tuck it into the base so that you have some, oops, my finger stuck, so that you have some roots coming out so that they can get a hold of that moisture that you're going to put in there. So we have it in this size, and we also have a large one. We've also shown these with houseplants in them. So afterwards, if you wanted to, in January, when we have our famous houseplant sale, you could get a houseplant and plant it in there and use it for that for the rest of the season. We also got in these really neat, I love these, I think they're very handsome. That's another amaryllis vase. And it's nice and squatty and really solid. So it's going to be really good for keeping them from kind of toppling over. They can get a little top heavy, so just keep your eye on that. As far as other vases, we've got lots of different things. We got in these great kind of green glass vases. We have this little guy, which I thought was really cute. It's actually a drinking glass, but I thought it would be fun. This is actually a bulb vase that is intended exactly to do this or to do a hyacinth, and I'll show you those in a minute. Whoops. Got jumping narcissus. And then we also got from another supplier this little guy, which is another little cutie. So what I would do with this is go ahead and start it and put like maybe 5 or 6 others in the refrigerator so that you have something to kind of keep going, because winter can be kind of dreary and bulbs can be very cheerful. So it's a great additive to our environment during the rainy season. Oh, I'm having an avalanche. Also wanted to point out hyacinths. So for those of you like David who love the fragrance of hyacinths, these can be forced inside also. They are also a little fussy about being too wet. So again, you want to make sure that the water is just kind of kissing the base of it. And so this, I started these about maybe 2 weeks ago. There's been no movement whatsoever, which is not uncommon. That's probably a little chilly in here for them, so they're kind of just kind of sitting there going, when is it going to get warm? We haven't turned on our heater yet. So, but again, these guys will also bloom in about 4 to 6 weeks. So that's another option to consider. Let's see. Oh, so on the narcissus, when you go to shift them outside in the garden, because that's what I do, whenever I do any forcing of bulbs indoors, especially the narcissus and the hyacinth, when I'm done with them, I put them in the garden in an area that I would like to have them, but it's not a big deal if they don't bloom for a while. And then go ahead and continue to fertilize them until they go dormant. So sometimes you'll have maybe 5 or 6 bulbs at the end of December. And what I would do is literally take them out, plant them about 5 to 6 inches down, just let the foliage flop, not a big deal, and start fertilizing them. And this way what they'll do is they'll start storing those nutrients for next year to try to give you some blooms. Do not, and this is the case with most bulbs, do not cut the greenery off. The bulbs take all of that energy back down into the bulb for next year to produce those leaves and everything else that they do. So by cutting that off, you're actually robbing it from nutrients and energy for next year. What I do with my bulbs in my garden, especially the daffodils and whatnot, once they've bloomed and they look kind of ugly, is I will either braid them. I know that sounds crazy, but you can French braid them very easily. They're very easy to braid. And then what I do is I loop down and I staple it in the ground with a ground staple. And so you just see that little braid. It's kind of decorative and very pretty. And I think a nice way to kind of keep things interesting without having all that flopping greenery. Same thing with the narcissus, so you can do that. The hyacinths, same thing. You'd want to let that foliage die down naturally. I think that might be it. If you have any other questions, or if you have any questions that I'm not answering in these videos, by all means, please message me, let me know. You've probably already seen on social media, I've been very busy getting Christmas ready. So there's a lot of magic happening here. So if you get a chance to stop by, you can see what's going on. I hope you're having a great day. It's a beautiful day out there, and we will see you at the nursery.